Hey everyone, this is Addie from Elevated Mama Life, and I am going to present to you some springing into health strategies, both that we should normally be thinking about, but especially under the current circumstances, which I know has everyone on high anxiety alert. There's just a lot of big stuff going on right now, and it feels probably pretty overwhelming. So we're just going to talk through some stuff, and hopefully it'll give you some good ideas on how to keep your health as strong as it can be now and definitely into the future. So just a little bit of information about me. I'm your elevated mama. I'm a mom of two very active boys, and I'm also a wellness coach, an author. I'm a mompreneur and a direct sales leader. I do wear many different hats, but my singular passion is really just helping other people hula hoop through all of our life's ups and downs, and having a really solid toolbox for achieving and maintaining optimal health, integrating self-care strategies, trying to really rise out of the survival mode, right? Like we all have a lot of the same challenges, but sometimes it's our mindset that really shifts like how we function throughout the day and how we manage all of the hard things as adults. So my goal is really to get people into thrival mode, even though that hard stuff is always going to be there, but just figuring out how to manage through them. And then juggling the household with out compromising your own self-care, learning how to do all of it simultaneously, and then building and sustaining a life that you wake up happy to be in, now as well as in the future, and even on your hardest days. So that's just a little background on me. I do want to, just address the state of things because it's really hard not to do that. And I think we should be addressing it. So, just take for a moment the state of things that would be happening, kind of normal life, right? So normally this time of year, the trees are just blossoming, the flowers are blooming, pollens are having their seasonal party, and the highest risk for most of us to our health is, colds, allergies. It's still technically flu season. So for the average person, those are going to be the things that that we're dealing with, right? Now we're in this coronavirus state of things, and so we have the isolation, the social distancing, homeschooling if you have kids, and then we have all these fears of are we going to get COVID-19? Maybe you already know someone that's gotten it. You're worried about, the vulnerable people in your life getting it, whether that's elderly or people with compromised immune systems. And then probably the biggest fear and impact that this is having, that's certainly impacting our well-being, is fears over our economic and financial future, right? This is hitting everything on so many different angles right now. So it's really normal to feel all those things. But I do think that we do have to just kind of keep the bigger perspective on some of that as we manage through and process all of the emotions around all these fears, right? Because they're really normal to have them and we should be feeling them. But we also need to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in greater jeopardy because of the stress that this is adding. So I know even just with like kind of these normal allergy symptoms and things like that, it's putting everyone on higher alert of like, okay, I have a dry cough, or I'm getting more congestion. Oh my God, is it possible that I got the virus? Is this just like the beginning stages of it? So I just want to caution people to really kind of dissect some of these things, because some of these symptoms are totally normal this time of year anyways, right? So just, try to like stay calm and take care of your body as much as possible. And then obviously if you start to have like really acute symptoms, that's when you need to address them. But what we're going to dive into is, hopefully strategies that I think are really important, how I coach people. So hopefully you're not going to end up in that acute state. Okay. So, so how do we manage our health? not just, in the state of the world today, but in general. So I want to go, I want to focus, oops, sorry. I'm going to go back to this for just a second, and then just talk for a couple things, talk for a minute about a couple big things, which is, that there is increasing research on this gut-brain connection that we have. And I'm going to go into the gut in a second, but I do think that it's really important for us to really start thinking about how we balance, how we protect our immune system is really like this balancing act. And I heard a really great analogy on a podcast just yesterday that I was listening to. And I'm always happy to share any resources with people who want to dive deeper into this stuff like I do. But it was like, essentially thinking about like, our guts is kind of like the bouncer and the ballet dancer. And that's always trying to protect us by, not letting the bad guys in, right? The drunken idiots. And then the ballet dancer that is really trying to maintain this delicate balance inside of us, right? Tiptoeing and pirouetting and doing all these things that like maintain healthy bacteria. So let's talk about that a little bit more in detail. So something that's really important to understand is that 75% of our immune system is in our gut, right? And when we now talk about our gut, it really, what a term that comes up all the time is our microbiome. So our body is full of trillions of different bacteria. It's bacteria. We do have viruses, we like living in us, and fungi and all of these things are collectively known as our microbiome. So while we have some bacteria that is associated with disease, others are actually really important for our immune system, our heart, how we manage weight, and many other aspects of our health. So there are roughly 40 trillion bacterial cells in our body, and there are actually about 30 trillion human cells. So we're actually more bacteria than human cells, which is a really strange concept, I understand, but that's just science, right? And physiology. So the majority of these like microbes, of these bacterial cells, they live in our gut, and they're particularly found in the large intestine. So this microbiome, it has genetic material of all of these microbes, and that live on the body, in the body, and these microbes are what help us digest. They help us digest our food, they regulate our immune system, and they protect against other bacteria that causes disease, as well as produce vitamins, for example, the B vitamins, thiamine, riboflavin, and then vitamin K, which is super important for our blood coagulation. So all together, these microbes in our bodies can weigh as much as 2 to 5 pounds. And that's roughly the weight of our brains. So together they function as like this extra organ. Hence my, calling it like our gut brain, right? And that gut brain, the microbiome, communicates with our actual brain. So if our gut is out of balance or out of alignment, it often affects us and how we process things. It affects our memory, fogginess, all these kind of things, right? So that, how we have that saying like the gut instinct. There's something really to that, because how we're feeling in our stomachs, in our gut, is so connected to our heart center and then also to our thoughts. So anyways, that gets a little deep on the science side of things, but I think it's really important for everybody to recognize that. So now that we have this view of how our bodies work, I think it's important for us to really focus on what are the key things that we need to do to keep a strong immune system, to protect our bodies, to make sure that we're feeling good on most days, and that also we have the opportunity for longevity, to live a long life. So I typically boil it down to these 5 really key healthy lifestyle practices: good nutrition, hydration, movement, sleep, and stress management. That's what I should have put there. Sorry, it's not. You don't want stress in your life. You want to manage the stress in your life. So I'm going to dive for just a second into each of these topics, and then talk about some of the other things that I do to balance my immune system and support it. So our immune system relies on nutrient-dense whole foods to function really well. What's interesting, and this is, a lot of this is being talked about right now, is that death from infections in the developing world is often not due to infection itself, but the body's inability to fight it because of nutrient deficiencies. Okay, so that's in the developing world. That in the developed world, we don't have as many nutritional deficiencies, but we still are pretty deficient. Only about 1 in 10 Americans eats the recommended amount of fruits and veggies every day. And then more than 90% of Americans are actually deficient in 1 or more nutrients to prevent deficiency diseases like scurvy and rickets, which is kind of crazy. But I think the point here is that it's really important that we are focusing on getting good nutrition and our bodies not having these deficiencies, because it's often the deficiencies themselves that put us at greater risk for illness in general, but particularly when there are uprisings of these really crazy viruses that attack us in ways that are much more severe than a lot of other ones, and that are new, and we haven't built up the immunity to them. So one other thing that I think is really important is that a lot of the information that's coming out is that diabetics, for example, are much higher risk of getting COVID-19 and having serious complications because of it. And about 1 in 2 Americans now is either pre-diabetic or diabetic. So that's just another reminder that, like, we really need to focus on nutrition, cutting out things like sugar and starch, and things that suppress our immune system, and really upping our produce intake. So kind of my rules of thumb are, eating a rainbow every day, getting nutrient dense foods, choosing fruits and vegetables that are in season. And you want to do that because they're growing in their ideal climate temperature. So you're going to get, higher nutrient density in those fruits and vegetables. The other thing is, when it comes to organics, we can't buy everything organic. It's not even always available, but I tend to like using Environmental Working Group's shopping guide to pesticides and produce. This is going to give you the dirty dozen. Those are the 12 fruits and veggies that are the highest in pesticide content, and that, if you can buy those organic, you absolutely want to, where you have the Clean 15. And these are produce that typically have fewer pesticides. A lot of times it's because they have a protective skin, things like avocados. I typically don't worry about buying those as buying organic avocados as much as things like strawberries and spinach that are always on the dirty dozen list, bananas, things like that, right? So you definitely want to take a look at that, and just to see what you're buying and making sure you're getting the safest produce that you can. The other thing is buying local fruits and veggies, right? So you want produce that's either vine ripened, picked at peak nutritional point, and traveling the least amount of distance. So going to the farmers markets, really getting, produce that is, as freshly picked as possible is going to give you the most nutrition. So that's really important. A statistic that I always share with people that always floors me is that because our food quality has degraded so much because of pesticide and herbicide use over the years, and heavily in the 90s, and then depleting in our soil and all the bacteria that helps keep our soil nutrient rich. Essentially what's happened is that now our food is less nutrient rich than it used to be. So as an example, you would need to eat like 26 apples today to equal the same nutritional value as 100 years ago. Think about either your, great-great-grandparents or your great-grandparents, the time that they were just coming into the world, they were able to eat like one apple compared to our, now 26 to get the same nutrition. So that's kind of scary. So other things to think about are, whole food supplementation. So you make sure that you're getting that rainbow of nutrient-dense foods. That's something that I do every single day. My whole family does that every day. And there is information about the one that I take on elevatedmamalife.com. I'm not going to get into all that here, but there are a lot of solutions out there, right? And that is not taking a vitamin. It's actually whole food supplementation so that you're getting the plants in like a powdered form that are bioavailable in your body and giving you extra immune support. So I could talk about the nutrition side all day. I'm going to move on to hydration. I mean, these are no brainers, I get, but I just think that right now, these are all really helpful reminders because, nutrition, hydration, all of these things, they impact our total wellness so much. So we really need to make sure that we're doing all the things right now. So, here, I'm not going to read through all of these, but, it's really important that we're just drinking water all day long. Dehydration can have a noticeable effect if you lose even as little as 2% of your body's water content. If you're still exercising, like for a lot of athletes, they lose up to 6 to 10% of their water weight via sweat. So this can lead to, altered body temperature, reduced motivation, increased fatigue. It can affect you both physically and mentally. And, even mild dehydration has been shown to impair brain function. So, I think that all of these things are really important. I think in terms of supporting digestion, you want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water because if not, it can lead to constipation. Constipation is going to lead to, a backup of toxic waste in your body, which you certainly don't want because that's just going to put you at greater risk for high levels of toxicity, compromised immune system. So you want to keep your gut working and flushing out the waste as quickly as possible. And drinking water is a really important step in doing that. So a couple tips for, just making sure you're drinking enough water. I got to be honest, like I struggle with water because I don't love the taste of it because it doesn't really have a taste, right? So I do things like add citrus and cucumber, make water infusions. The last couple days, I actually put a big sprig of rosemary that a friend had given us from her garden. And I just put the whole sprig in my water bottle and it tasted super refreshing. It's also, rosemary is really, antiviral. So you're getting hydration, you're getting some virus fighting support. So that is just things to keep in mind. You can do like a drop of essential oil that can freshen it up, and then eat more fruits and veggies in general, because guess what, guys, like us, they're made of water. So we need to eat a lot of them. And that'll help you stay hydrated as well. Okay. So movement, no surprise here. Physical activity is super important for so many different things. All of the things that are here are really important. When our body is inactive, it slows down our metabolic rate. It can lead to weight gain. And then kind of going back to this idea about the toxic buildup in our bodies, this is something that I focus on a lot when I work with my clients, because the toxicity component can affect so many different things. If you're having trouble losing weight, that could be a big reason why. The brain fog, like all of these things that we've talked about, as you can see, like there's so much interconnectedness. So we really need to do all of the things that are going to get rid of toxins in our body, because we're being exposed to toxins every single day. And I didn't get into this, but I'm just going to make a little PSA, because I know right now, like with this COVID-19, everyone's buying up, disinfectants and cleaners and bleaches and all of these things that actually pose a really big risk to our health in other ways. I get that they're going to protect to some degree against some virus, but they also, if you're touching them, it's getting into your pores, it's going into your body. They can be stored in your fat tissue, that you can, end up with hormone disruption, endocrine disruption, all kinds of other higher risks for other diseases like cancer. So if you guys are following the protocols and staying home, all I can say is try to use those kind of cleaning products and chemicals as infrequent as possible so that you don't put yourself at a greater risk for other health issues and weaken your immune system for the long term, right? We want to have strong immune systems. So you got to find that balance there. If you're not going out and interacting and you've cleaned your house, like typically you're not bringing anything new in. So, make sure that, at home, it's just like plant-based products, non-toxic shampoos, laundry detergents, all that stuff, right? Because if you're using a lot of things with chemicals and your cleaning products and your beauty products, all of that stuff, that's going to affect your health. And then if you're not moving and you're not sweating it out, you're not getting it all out, it's just going to start to accumulate. Okay. So I just wanted to really spend a couple minutes on that and make everybody aware that, that all of it goes together. So a couple quick things too, I'll just say, like, I know how hard it is because we're isolating, to figure out how we're going to do this exercise thing. Things that I've been doing, like I'll do it again right now. I'm going to check my posture, make sure that I'm sitting up straight. I'm activating my abs. You can like contract and release your abs while you're sitting working at the computer. You can do the same thing with your glutes, your thighs. You can like do little, heel lifts, and activate your calf muscles, things like that. Shrug your shoulders back and forward. Make sure you're stretching and moving even when you're sitting at a desk for long periods of time. Get up, walk around. When things get back to normal and we're out in our daily life again, things that I do, for example, are I'm always at Target picking stuff up. So I'll park my car in the back of the park, like literally like the last parking lot spot, and then walk all that distance, do my errands around the store, come back. I mean, it sounds silly, but even those extra few steps can make a big difference in terms of movement. So it's really important that we are doing all of these different things, right? I mean, now there's so many online classes, so that's amazing. But before all this, like, there are often times where I'm squeezing things in between my kids' school hours and trying to work and run a business and do all these things. So I'll just like download one of the, 7-minute workout apps or things like that, just getting in HIIT training, or going for, a hike or whatever it is, running while my kids ride their bikes. Anything that you can do to get some physical movement, or just doing some stretches or yoga in your house, right? Any of that stuff is great. Don't think that it has to be a full hour or at the gym to be effective. Movement in general is important no matter what, right? So just figure out how to work it in. Okay, sleep. Lack of sleep causes so many health issues, and I don't know that we actually focus on sleep as a culprit as much as we should. According to National Institutes of Health, 1 in 3 of us suffers from poor sleep. A lot of times the culprit is stress, working on computers too much, taking work home. All of these things kind of, disrupt our natural rhythms, and puts us at a big risk, of obesity, heart disease, diabetes. It can shorten your life expectancy. So you really want to practice some good sleep habits. Couple things that I always recommend are, really trying to turn off your electronics an hour before bedtime. I know how hard this is. I can't tell you how many times I get stuck in the scroll hole getting on Instagram or, catching up for the day or reading the news. Oh my gosh, why would I do that to myself right before bed? I do it sometimes, but then I catch myself. And then I really shift out of that. You can light candles, diffuse essential oils, use oils like lavender, on your body in ways, or just put them in your hands and breathe it in so that you can create calm and really start to relax your body. In our house, we have different CBDs. We have some sleep formulas that are all herbal based. For me, I'm kind of a grandma and I like to make my tea around like 8:30, drink my tea, kind of have some wind down time. And that just kind of helps me like settle in for the night so that I have much better sleep. Also doing these other things, eating well, having movement, hydrating, all of that is also going to ensure that you're going to get better sleep as well. So adults, most of us should aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. There's a few of the freaks of nature out there that can function on like 5 or 6 hours. I'm definitely not one of them, but even if you think you can function on little sleep, I would just encourage you to take a minute and think about like, okay, well, did I get enough sleep? How patient was I during the day? Was I easily irritated? Was I moodier than usual? Things like that. You might have certain energy levels, but is your temperament being affected? All of these things can really play into it. So just something to keep in mind. Stress management. Okay. We could spend a whole hour talking about this. I think all of you guys know the risks. They're honestly the same as all of the other risk areas that I've talked about. But constant stress does put us at risk for disease. And it really wears us down and really affects our immune system. If you are familiar with the term adrenal fatigue, high consistent levels of stress can really mess up our adrenals. Lack of sleep, that also does it. But adrenal fatigue is a kind of an underlying issue for a lot of other ailments. And often people don't realize that they're having all these problems really because their adrenals are shot. And so you have to go back and you really have to support the adrenal system and get that back functioning in order to feel better again. So what we want to do is focus on balancing things out, right? Having some stress management. You're going to have stress in your day, especially right now. There's a lot of things that are super stressful, but the more that we can, do breathing exercises, go for walks, get out in nature, garden. If you have a garden, pulling weeds, pull your neighbor's weeds if you don't have any, things like that, touching soil, touching nature, doing a meditation practice. I'll be honest, like I am still working really hard on trying to get a consistent meditation practice. It's really hard for me because I'm such a high energy person, but I've been really trying, and even like 5-10 minutes is better than nothing. And it really can impact so much because we really want to, shift into a state of calm and really support our parasympathetic nervous system. And meditation is a way that we can really do that. Journaling, I know the guys are like, I'm not going to journal, but guess what? Like it could be doodling in a notebook. You don't even have to get into, all your emotions and fears, although it would be amazing if you did that because it's really important to release that. But anything that just kind of, helps you unload, unleash like emotions that are stored up inside that are caused from stress and anxiety and our fears is really important. And other ways that we do that is through sharing, sharing what's happening with you with inside, like sharing all of these emotions. That's a really positive thing. As long as you can share them and then kind of release them so that you're not holding on to them too long and you're not dwelling, because that's not a healthy state of mind to be in. So mindfulness practice, gratitude practice, all of those things that kind of get us shifting into a more positive state is really important. And then obviously connecting we're getting really creative in how we're connecting right now. And I think it's amazing. We need to continue to do that. And then other creative outlets. I know for me, one of the things that, this stay-at-home status has done for me is it's getting me back in the kitchen, doing different recipes, doing the things that I love, trying to do some videos around that, cooking with my kids, just kind of getting back to the basics, coloring, helping my kids with these, craft projects, things like that. You can do that whether you have kids or not. Doing the adult coloring books, all that stuff, right? Helps a lot. This is just a fun little mantra, and it just says, promise to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. Look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. Think only the best, work only for the best, and expect only the best. Forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. Give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. I love that one. And then live in faith that the whole world is on your side. So as long as you are true to the best that is in you, okay? This is really important for right now, right? Like keeping this perspective, this in time shall pass, and just really, trying not to dwell too much in all of the negative, because it would be easy to do that. It is easy to do that, but that's not going to serve us really in the long term. So, okay, I wanted to just quickly run through some of the other immune balancing strategies that I practice very regularly, because I want to make sure that you guys have all the tools that you need right now. So, starting the day with warm lemon water, alkalizing your digestive system. We tend to be pretty acidic, so this is a way to really reset and have a healthy digestive system so that it's better prepared to digest everything that you're going to consume in a more efficient way. You can also just drink some warm water if you don't want to put the lemon in it, or you don't have lemon. Adding a little bit of salt and even swishing it around. It's called this warm water flush. Swish it around and spit it out. That can actually pull some of the bacteria and toxins that build up overnight. So it's another, immune support practice. If you show signs of congestion or any kind of cold or allergy symptoms, cut out the dairy. Just get rid of it until you feel better. Super hard, I know, for some people, but it's really inflammatory, and it will really help you recover faster if you strip that out. Other thing to be mindful about is cold foods and smoothies. Listen, I'm like the smoothie bowl queen. I love my smoothies. I live on them, but they can create dampness in your body, and that can also trigger an immune response of more congestion production, phlegm production, things like that. So it's important to have warming foods, soups, broths, oatmeal, the lemon water, teas throughout the day, all of those kind of things. If you're starting to have any kind of, of the cold and allergy symptoms. I love turmeric tea, ginger tea, all of those are super immune supporting. And then also reducing consumption of anti-inflammatory foods in general. So, processed foods, lots of meat can be inflammatory, too much gluten. Even if you don't have a gluten sensitivity, it still can cause inflammation, even if you're not feeling it physically like those of us who are gluten sensitive do. Again, I have dairy on there, just, all of those things are inflammatory. So, and then taking a good quality probiotic, that's really important for gut health and the gut balance. I'm always happy to share some resources on that if you need them. A couple other things that I do, particularly lately, I do these little oil bombs, we call it. I'm like, this is my imaginary capsule right here. So, putting a couple drops of oregano or black pepper essential oils in a little capsule and then swallowing those. You do not want to ingest them without them being in a capsule, because it could really burn your esophagus. But they have antiviral, antifungal, antioxidant properties. So anytime we hear anyone gets the flu, we start doing those. There's a couple other essential oils that I'll, concoct in a little mixture just to add some extra support. So green drinks, wellness shots, all of those have immune supporting and anti-inflammatory type of foods and herbs that really help, with that immune balancing. You could do them later in the day. Again, like if you have any of those congestion issues, don't make a smoothie that's too cold. You could just blend up some greens even and just do your own like green juice. And that would be really supportive, especially first thing in the morning. Other things that I do are garlic tinctures, echinacea. At the first signs of a cold, take it several times a day, up to 7 days. That can really like help you kick it. And then using something like a neti pot for allergies, especially if you're prone to sinus issues like nasal sinus issues. The neti pot, you just fill with water and this special salt, and then you flush it through your nose and clear out your sinuses. So if you do that early enough or as a preventative measure, that is a really, really great practice for managing seasonal allergies. There are a couple other like herbal support things like, fennel, black licorice. Some of those kind of things can also be really supportive for allergy and immune system, not like black licorice candies, but like the herb. Sorry, just want to make sure that's clear. Okay, so those are just some of my extra tips in addition to the things I mentioned before, which is that, we also do a whole food supplement that's just powdered plants. I also take a plant-based omega for added support. So that really helps. And in general, I really try to get my blood tested every 6 months to check where my nutrient levels are. I try not to supplement unless I show a deficiency. So like I don't take a multivitamin because I do this whole food supplementation and really try to eat a fairly plant-based diet. I'm about an 80% plant-based diet, 20% is my flexitarian, kind of eat whatever. But I do think that getting the blood panel and knowing where your nutrient levels are, your hormone levels, all of that stuff is really important to managing your health. So do that. And then have fun. Laughter is so important to us staying healthy. I put a couple fun quotes here. This coronavirus is not funny. I'm not gonna pretend that, I'm not gonna joke about that in itself, but I do think that we do have to find humor in hardship just to get through the days. There are some hilarious memes floating around. Those are the things that are actually getting me through right now on some of the really hard days and hard moments. So anyways, don't be afraid to find some humor in the chaos. It's important. I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. You can get more healthy lifestyle practices, life elevating support from elevatedmamalife.com, or shoot me a message. You can follow me on Instagram at elevatedmamalife. And then I also have a Facebook support page that is also Elevated Mama Life. So I wanted to thank you guys so much again, and stay home, stay healthy, and hopefully things will get back to normal soon.